Is Hyeseong from Sogang University, Computer Engineering from South Korea. I would like to introduce about my paper called PSR, Probabilistic Serendipitous Recommendations. The contents are as intro, method and findings, discussion, conclusions, and Q&A. So recommendation system is used its strong supportive services to help users to find items that best match the user's interest. It identifies each user's preference and needs. However, the current recommendation systems focus on only improving the accuracy. Many recent studies have begun to take serendipity into account when designing recommendation systems to expand the user's personal interest. We want to approach serendipitous approach, which is to provide users with a diversity of perspective, contents, and experiences. Panagotiosis proposed a serendipity-oriented algorithm that re-ranks the result of an existing accuracy-oriented algorithm, which produce relevant scores. An accuracy-oriented algorithm finds items relevant for a specific user, while re-ranking algorithms assign low ranks to obvious suggestions. There's another approach called syrup. It generated a recommendation list with the degree of unexpectedness tailored to the user's curiosity value with two apparent results, such as the novelty check and copying potential check. However, optimizing for serendipity is not worth studying due to the high risk of suggesting irrelevant items to users. The high likelihood of lowering user satisfaction with the recommendation items. So we have our research goal, which is to optimize serendipity without affecting user satisfaction. We want to have achieved this research goal motivated by Boden's notion of creativity, which is to make unfamiliar but interesting combinations of familiar ideas through user-provided information. For example, one does not expect idea X and Y to be put together as they are regarded as being mutually irrelevant, but one can find a combination of the two ideas. Let me start explaining about the algorithm. We applied collaborative filtering approach. So we started from relational reasoning such that if A and B is a subset of R and B and C are a subset of R, then AC will be the subset of R for all elements where A, B, C in the binary relations are when all elements are user-based information. So for example, user A likes storytelling and many of the users who like storytelling watch Toy Story. Then we get the conclusion user A is likely to watch a Toy Story. And we applied Bayesian scoring function, returning the highest likelihood by considering a movie that is a combination of every user chosen text. So to return the highest likelihood, we need to compute the posterior probability for an item I. Firstly, we calculate the probability of a user's potential preferring by consuming a set of selected texts by a user. For example, a set of texts are mystery, superhero, criminal, based on users' chosen answers. Since each ad has a value of tag relevance, we update likelihood through tag relevance. The likelihood of each user chosen text is multiplied together to return the highest likelihood for recommendations among the movie candidates. Prior P is an overall preference of each item from different user preference. An average movie ratings is obtained by MovieLens 20M dataset. To filter the relevant items, the highest to the highest diverse perspective recommendation on the final states. To restore the ranking of recommendation items, we assign the lower scores to the obvious suggestions and purposely based on the user's expectation. So how to measure users' expectation? We considering that the long tail part has individual differences among users. Applying the method below without setting a specific range for long tail. Reflecting the individual differences. 10 thriller movies are shown. Count how many thriller movies the user seen. Based on the number of ratings on the dataset, let's say first is this amount, 100, 200, 300 are like that. So to apply the re-rank algorithm with familiarity, we apply the user's knowledge of thriller movies. This is considered as familiarity. So the formulas will be like this. We applied lambda scores are each part of this. So let's say from Bayesian, out of 975 thriller movies, first movies are movies most relevant to the user's responses. Last one is the movies least relevant to the user's responses. So we apply this as the lambda values. From popularity, out of 975 all movies and 43739 total users. First is still the least famous movies. Last is the most famous movies. We apply this part of the lambda, and we re-rank the algorithm. If the user has lower knowledge of thriller movies, we apply the lower lambda, and if the user has high knowledge of thriller movies, we increase the lambda. To operationalize the unexpected but interesting, which are serendipitous result without decreasing user satisfaction, we made a probabilistic serendipitous recommendations with a relevant metrics. It provides user-provided information through an interface. To make this result, we recruit 40 participants by posting recruitment announcements on all local universities and by word of mouth. So this approach has advantages probability approach, which provides an extensive and comprehensive perspective in combination of unfamiliar informations. So we have another research questions, such that to what extent can our recommendation system improve serendipity without decreasing user satisfaction? So these are the framework of PSR, which distribute into three parts. First is selective inquiry, and second is tag item by part graph of a user based on Bayesian scoring function. The third part is the recommendations with the relevance metrics. So data collection interface. Let's say we made a questions, 10 thriller questionnaire, converting multiple choices answers to movie related tags, and then obtained tag genome data from MovieLens, which is a data set of 100 tags and 10,000 movies and 11 million computed tag movie relevance scores from a pool. So data preparation. Tag item undirected by part graph. User selected tags are connected to a movie in an adjacent matrix of a tag item undirected by part graph. In a tag item by part graph, each ad from tag to a movie is composed of tag relevance. So tag relevance is a numerical value to represent how each of the tags will contribute to a given movie from tag item. So experiment conditions. We will compare our model called PSR to BSR model. So PSR model returns a movie as having the highest likelihood from a fully connected layer with a set of selected tags by a user. In comparison, BSR model finds a movie from a partially connected layer by using only two variables such as 0 or 1. For example, 0 represents if a tag is non-relevant to a user. 0 if a tag relevant is less than 0.5, and 1 is a tag relevant is more than 0.5. Experiment conditions. So these are the metrics, relevance metrics, based on probabilistic conditions. Row is a user's response, and column is a user's potential preferring items. So in this case, PSR, BSR, the PSR for each cell likelihood of a user preferring to an item. For example, assuming that a certain movie is probable for the recommendation as containing a tag, let's say story is 91% probability. BSR is each cell is binary called 0 or 1. So BSR model finds a movie from partially connected layer by using only two variables, 0 or 1. So 0 represents if a tag is non-relevant to a movie. So procedure. The matrix shows the top 10 recommended thriller movies to each participant. PSR model, we recruited 20 participants, 10 male, 10 female. BSR model, also 20 participants are recruited, 10 male and 10 female. To evaluate the system, we have two terms, which is measuring serendipity and measure overall recommendations. For the serendipities, it's a binary choice questions for top 10 to measure serendipity, unexpectedness, and useful. To measure the overall recommendations, we modified the rescue questionnaire. So to measure serendipity, we use this formula. Unexpectedness is used for denote as a set of unexpected and useful items in the recommendation list. So the N is the length of recommendation list. So data and analysis. Serendipity is satisfying both unexpectedness and relevance. A term as unexpectedness, it refers to items that significantly differ from the user's profile. So serendipity. The research showed that PSR perceived higher unexpectedness and useful compared to those who were in BSR condition. PSR had higher serendipity than BSR. Study findings and limitations. Advantages of probabilistic approach. We found trends that PSR has more serendipitous recommendations than binary decision-based model. PSR computes the likelihood for every possible candidate, while BSR suggests a movie as a recommendation where at least one response matched in the movie. A probabilistic perspective provides an extensive and comprehensive perspective, while non-probabilistic binary decisions such as from the BSR don't offer the uncertainty for predictions. So the future plan. We will deepen the study by improving the model to achieve higher serendipity as well as user satisfaction by comparing with a larger sample size of user study and comparing with other existing serendipity-oriented recommendations. These are all my presentations. Thank you for your watching.